Ba-da-ba-ba-ba, highway to the danger zone. You know what? Never mind. I look ridiculous in those. I look more like Mr. Chow than a fighter pilot, so never mind. Alright, so Top Gun Maverick is finally here. 36 years after the original film, and it was worth every single second because this movie is freaking awesome. I loved it. And you know what? Let me just talk about Tom Cruise for a second, because Tom Cruise, man, no one can even compare to this guy. He's been a legit A-list movie star for 5 decades now. He's been a star in the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, the 2010s, and now the 2020s. Who else can do that? He just exudes being a movie star. His films are just so entertaining. He knows what the audience wants. How can you not love this guy? I don't give a shit about his religion or his personal life. The guy makes such great movies, and Top Gun Maverick, after all the films that he's done in the past, Top Gun Maverick is in his top 5 already. It's that good. And you know what? I'm a huge fan of the original film in 1986. It's one of my favorite films of all time. Just the production behind it. You had Don Simpson, Jerry Bruckheimer, the Magic production team who gave us Crimson Tide and Bad Boys and Flashdance. They knew what audience wanted. They knew what audiences craved, and they delivered it with great direction, great stories, great music, and Top Gun was one of the epitomes of the productions of that time period. So I was so glad that Jerry Bruckheimer was brought on board with Tom Cruise. Unfortunately, the original director Tony Scott has passed away, but Joseph Kosinski, oh my god. I've known him from Oblivion, which I thought was really good, and Tron Legacy, which I thought was interesting, but not that great. But man, with Top Gun Maverick, this creative magic team, this perfect storm of creativity, oh my god, this movie just delivers on all levels. Direction, story, production, the acting, oh man. So anyway, I'm gushing way too much, and Maverick is now, he's still a captain. He hasn't risen up the ranks like all of his other pilots because he just wants to fly jets. He doesn't want to be a politician or an administrator. He just wants to keep flying. And then there's this really top secret mission that only he, of course, can help out with. So he's brought back to the Top Gun school to teach this young next generation of hotshot pilots to pull off this dangerous mission. And I loved how they kept the mission very simple and yet very dramatic and suspenseful. It was so easy to understand because sometimes with these military films, you kind of get lost in the jargon and like, what are they talking about? Well, I don't know what that means. But they explained the mission so well, and the training for that mission was done so well, and each step of the training meant something really important to each process of the mission itself. And I love that about the movie. This movie really kept things simple, but not in a dumbed down way. It needed to be at the perfect level of complexity, which it was. And I just loved that about the movie. The writing was great. I think Christopher McQuarrie, who works with Tom Cruise a lot on the Mission Impossible films, had a great hand in the screenplay of the movie. And you can tell that his hands are all over it with the interesting storyline, the intricacies, and yet again, being able to keep it relatable to a general audience, and I love that. And Tom Cruise, man, again, I gush about him way too much, but he is just a movie star that I just can't get enough of. The guy just delivers, and again, he just embodies his Maverick character. He brings him back, and he just fits in so well with this new set of hotshot. The supporting cast also is stellar. Miles Teller plays Rooster, who is Goose's son. Goose, of course, being the flying partner of Maverick in the original film. So of course there's some tension there, but maybe not for the reasons that you think, but there is definitely a dramatic relation there to kind of unwind. Jennifer Connelly is also there as a love interest. You got stellar character actors like Ed Harris, John Hamm. Everyone is great in this movie. If there was one flaw I need to kind of nitpick on for this movie, the second act of the film, I'm not gonna say drag. It doesn't drag out a little at all, but the first act was done so well with this really suspenseful setup it just kind of waiting for that inevitable awesome third act to come around. So I'm like, okay, but I understand why the second act needed to be what it was, because you gotta develop these characters somewhat to make you care about the final mission. So I get it. You had to set up the relationships between Maverick and Jennifer Connelly's character, between Maverick and Rooster, and etc. So I get it. I was just so like waiting for that final act, and boy, when that final act comes, whoo, man. Joseph Kosinski, the director, man, his creativity, his visual style was amazing. From the very first like 5 minutes of the film, like, oh, that shot was great. That shot was great. That was a great shot. You know, the visuals of this film are amazing. This film is so made for a big theater experience. Do not wait to watch this movie on your big screen TV, because it will not be the same. Go watch it on the biggest screen possible, because the visuals deserve that. The intricacies, the complexities, the camera angles, the choreography of the fighter pilots, the cinematography. This movie needs to be experienced on the big screen, so go out and watch it there. So the visuals are amazing. And of course, this being a long-awaited sequel to a classic film from 30-something years ago, there's gonna be some callbacks to the original film for nostalgia. There's gonna be some fan service, but you know, they just kind of did it a little bit, in just the right amount. It didn't overdo it, which I love. The way they did it was really key and impactful for me anyway. I mean, within the first 5 minutes, Tom Cruise's character Maverick, he recites a line that was a callback to the original film, and already I was kind of tearing up, because that's just how that nostalgia hit me. So this movie just hits all the right tones, and again, that's a real credit to the screenplay writing of making this film just the right amount of nostalgia, and yet making it fresh for new audiences. And definitely do, man, the aerial combat in this movie, I was like, oh, my heart just thumping out of my chest. I was like, oh, it was so intense. And even in the training scenes, oh, it's like, this film, it's just full of suspense. The action is great. I'm so glad I was able to see it on the big screen. And the music, of course, the music in the Top Gun film has to be great. How many of you own that Top Gun soundtrack? I know I did. I had it on a cassette tape. I listened to it over and over again. It's not only Danger Zone. You got Flying with the Boys. You got Lead Me On. You got a bunch of great songs. Take My Breath Away by Berlin. A lot of great songs to that soundtrack. So I had it. I was listening to it over and over again when I was a kid, and I was glad that they had some solid music again this time around. So overall, this film is a very complete package. It's a great time at the movies. It needs to be experienced at a big theater, so I highly advise you go on and watch it now. I wanted so much to give this a 10, but you know, like I said, there is some parts of the movie that I did like, but you know, so I can't say it's perfect. So for me, Top Gun Maverick will get a solid 9 out of 10. Thanks so much for watching my review. If you like it, please give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to my channel, MC on Film, for more reviews in the future.